The Bible story is full of secrets and deep lessons. It also has people who don't follow the rules or accept what is real. There are men among these famous people who not only had to deal with huge problems, but they also walked right on the edge of death. Who are those men? What brave and faith-filled stories do we have to share? Ever think about what it takes to fight fate when it looks like all hope is lost? How can someone be strong when nature's forces and the world's most powerful groups work together to stop them? The lives of three guys whose journeys are nothing short of amazing can help us figure these things out. The time when Elijah came out was a very dark time in Israel. King Ahab and Queen Jezebel ruled with an iron hand and made people worship Baal, an ancient god who was seen as the god of life and weather. As it turned out, God asked Elijah to be the voice of a challenge. Is that his job? According to the God of Israel, there would be no rain or dew for years until Elijah spoke the last word. Tell King Ahab this. This announcement wasn't just a weather report. The power he was said to have over the weather was put to the test right away. That kind of speech had a huge effect. Picture the scene. A single messenger stood in front of a strong king and his court and told them that the God they worshipped was weak compared to the real God. What happened next was both a test of faith and proof that God was in charge. Following the fight, Elijah was told to seek safety near the Kirit Brook. There, in the middle of his isolation as a refugee, he was miraculously kept alive. He quenched his thirst with water from the stream, and the birds brought him food and bread by sight. There was a tangible sign in that daily wonder that God would provide, even when things looked the worst. But the drought that hurt the whole country cut through the brook that Elijah had used as a haven. As soon as the water stopped flowing, God gave a new message. Visit the home of a widow in Zarephath. In spite of what you might think from someone who was meant to back a Messiah, that woman lived in very dangerous circumstances. In this place, another miracle happened, because God promised the widow's flour and oil never ran out until it rained again and the land was healed. In times of great need and despair, this part of Elijah's story serves as a reminder that there is a source of hope and renewal that goes beyond our understanding and abilities. Elijah's life not only fought against death and hopelessness, but it also changed what it meant to have faith and count on God. Elijah's journey is just the start of what we will learn. It sounds like the stories of the other two men will also reveal very important things about faith and divine guidance. In their own way, each shows us how strong the human spirit can be when it is led by a greater power. This look into the lives of these remarkable men is meant to make you think about things that you can't see and question things that seem to be set in stone. Are you interested in continuing this journey with me as we look for lessons in the lives of these strong religious leaders? Before we go on, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you like these deep dives into Bible stories and want to keep going with us. This way, we can give you more stuff like this. The story of Elijah shows us not only a man who stood up to kings and pagan gods, but also times when he was very weak and the gods talked to him. Feel free to leave a super thanks if this story moves you and you want to support this work. We can keep telling more Bible stories and spreading this message of faith and hope thanks to your donation. Thank you so much for your help. As the story goes on, Elijah is once again in the middle of some things that will test his faith and the faith of those around him. In the last chapter, we saw how Elijah amazingly stayed alive during the drought. Our story now moves to the home of Zarephath's widow, where another strange event takes place. There are many hidden meanings and lessons in the Bible's history. There are also people who don't follow the rules or believe what's real. Among these well-known people are men who not only had to deal with big problems, but they were also very close to dying. What kind of men are those? What stories are true and full of faith that we have to share? ¿Has ocurrido alguna vez en la idea de lo necesario para luchar contra el destino cuando pasa toda la esperanza? For what reason could someone be strong when nature's forces and the world's strongest groups work together to stop them? The life stories of three boys, whose paths are nothing less than amazing, can help us figure these things out. When Elijah showed up, it was a very dark time in Israel. King Ahab and Queen Jezebel ruled with a staff of gold and made people worship Baal, an old god who was seen as the god of life and the weather. As a result, God asked Elias to be the voice of a challenge. Is that your job? Israel's God said that there would be no rain or snow for years until Elijah spoke the last word. Give this to the king. This announcement wasn't just a weather report. As soon as it was said that someone had power over the weather, it was put to the test. This kind of speech had a big impact. Picture the scene. One messenger stood in front of a powerful king and his court and told them that the gods they worshipped were weak compared to the real God. As the story went on, what happened was both a test of faith and proof that God was in charge. After the fight, Elias was told to find a safe place near the Kirit River. There, in the middle of his isolation as a refugee, he was miraculously kept alive. He washed his face with water from the stream, and the Pajaros brought him food and bread. Even when things looked bad, there was a clear sign in that beautiful daily life that God would provide. But the drought that hit the whole country dried up the stream that Elias had been using as a shelter. As quickly as the water stopped flowing, God sent a new message. Go to the home of a widow in Sarepta. Even though you might have thought of someone who was supposed to take care of a Messias, that woman was living in very dangerous conditions. In this place, another miracle happened. Because God said he would, the flour and the milk of the cow never ran out until it started to rain again, and the land was sown. During times of great need and despair, this part of Elias's story serves as a reminder that there is a source of hope and renewal that goes beyond our understanding and abilities. Elias's life wasn't just a fight against death and hopelessness, it also changed what it meant to have faith and trust in God. Elias's journey is just the beginning of what we will learn. It looks like the stories of the other two men will also reveal very important things about faith and the divine guide. In their own way, each of them shows us how strong the human spirit can be when it is led by a higher power. This look into the lives of these famous men is meant to make you think about things you can't see and question things that look like they were carved into stone. Do you want to keep going on this journey with me while we look for lessons in the lives of these strong religious leaders? Before you continue, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel if you like these deeper looks into Bible stories and want to follow us. In this way, we can give you more content like this. Not only does Elias's story show us a man who fought kings and gods, but it also shows us times when he was very bad and the gods talked to him. Please leave a super thanks if this story speaks to you and you want to support this work. Thanks to your donation, we can keep telling more Bible stories and spreading this message of faith and hope. Thanks a lot for your help. Every time the story goes on, Elias finds herself in more situations that will test her faith and the faith of those around her. In the last chapter, we saw how Elias miraculously stayed alive during the sequence. Now our story moves to the house of the Viuda de Sarepta, where something strange happens. They went to important places together and retraced the steps of the most important events in Elijah's ministry. Another miracle took place in one of those places, close to the Jordan. The river split in two, letting them both cross on dry land. This was a reminder of the Exodus and proof that God was still working through Elijah. In the middle of wonders and goodbyes, Elisha asked for something very brave, twice as much of Elijah's spirit, not because he wanted double the power, but because he really wanted to be his master's main spiritual heir. Elijah knew that the request was serious and sincere, so he told them that God was the only one who could give it, not him. As they walked along, they had deep talks about religion, leaving a legacy, and the future. At that very moment, while they were still walking and talking, a carriage of fire pulled by fire horses suddenly appeared and split them up. Elijah was taken to heaven in a storm, which was a spectacular event that sealed his heritage and made sure that Elisha would take over his power. From that point on, Elisha not only took up the mantle that his master had left behind, but he also did so with the gift that his prayer for twice as much spirit was given, as the story of his life and miracles would show. Now that Elijah's story is over, we go even further back in time to look at the life of Enoch, another man with great faith. Enoch was one of the few people in the Bible who had the chance to walk with God. He was known for being very close to God. Different from the Enoch who came from Cain, this Enoch, who was the son of Jared and the father of Methuselah, had such a deep spiritual trip that God took him away without him dying. The phrase "walked with God" refers to this account of a connection with God that was so close and steady that it went beyond this life. Enoch lived during a time when morality and ethics were getting worse, but his life was a contrast of loyalty and closeness with God. Tradition and old writings say that his journey to heaven was a direct result of his righteousness and his close relationship with God. This makes him a model of spiritual loyalty and holiness. The stories of Elijah and Enoch, which go on and on, not only show how powerful and present God is in people's lives, but they also remind us of the amazing things that can happen for those who are truly committed to their path with God. Both men left behind works that continue to inspire and guide future generations. This shows that God can change the direction of history in unimaginable ways, even during hard times. Enoch was a spiritual giant who went to heaven, and his story and the stories of his children and grandchildren have been told for generations. Jared, Enoch's father, lived an amazing 962 years and left behind a large family of sons and daughters. But it was Enoch, who lived only 365 years, who deeply marked his time by walking with God in a way that was both exemplary and prophetic. Enoch had Methuselah when he was 65 years old. He would become a symbol of long life and God's plan being carried out through the ages. In the 300 years after his son was born, Enoch had a close relationship with God. He did good things and spoke out against sin and corruption in a world that was quickly falling apart. As the days before the great flood went by, moral rot got worse, and God told Enoch to be a spokesman for repentance. This was a huge job for a man who thought he couldn't talk. He didn't want to, but the holy promise of safety and power made him change his mind. Inspired by this promise from heaven, Enoch took on his role with courage and preached about the need to turn away from sin, be baptized, and the coming of the Holy Spirit. There was more to Enoch than just talking. He did things. He was given divine permission to baptize anyone who agreed with his message. Baptism is a sign of cleansing and spiritual rebirth. The people who answered Enoch's call came together to form a society called Zion. It was a place where everyone loved each other, there was fairness, and no one was poor. They gave away everything they owned, which showed how honest and pure their views were, and how much they loved God. God gave Enoch a picture of the future that included everything. This was the high point of his ministry. Enoch saw beyond his own time in this vision. He thought about not only the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, but also the return of the gospel in the last days and Christ's glorious second coming. This vision not only showed that God's plan has not changed over time, but it also gave people who walk by faith more hope and strength to keep going. Because Enoch's relationship with God was so strong and his life so good, he did not die like other men. In a very rare event, Enoch was taken away from this world, but not by death. Instead, he went straight to God. The act of God described in the letter to the Hebrews shows how powerful faith can be, and promises that people who walk with God will have experiences that are beyond our understanding. Enoch left behind a message of faith and hope that has been passed down through the ages, and a life of steadfast righteousness. His life shows us that even when things are falling apart and we feel hopeless, God's presence can change everything. God's presence offers not only forgiveness and rebirth, but also the promise of endless fellowship with the Creator. The story of Enoch makes us think about how strong our faith is and how honest our relationship with God is, bringing to mind that our connection with God can change not only our lives, but also the world around us. Enoch's story of being taken up by God is both a unique example of faith and closeness with God, and it also connects us to other characters in the Bible whose lives and goals went beyond the normal and the temporary. Melchizedek is one of these figures. His mysterious presence in the holy texts gives us deep insights into the eternal nature and transcendent priesthood that point to Christ's ministry. Melchizedek, king of Salem and servant of the Most High God, shows up at a very important time in Abram's life, right after a big fight between kings in the area where Abram lived. He shows up out of the blue and at the right time. He brings bread and wine, which are symbols of food and rebirth, and blesses Abram in the name of the Most High God. Abram responded by giving Melchizedek tenths of everything he had taken over. This shows that he respected Melchizedek as a spiritual leader and gave him the respect he deserved as a priest of such greatness. The way the Bible talks about Melchizedek is what makes him so interesting. Nobody has a father, a mother, a family tree, a start or an end to their life. This description goes against what we usually think about family and death, making us wonder about its nature and where it came from. Some scholars think Melchizedek might have been a theophany, or a physical representation of the Messiah before he was born. This would explain why he showed up and then disappeared so quickly in the Bible story. In the New Testament's epistle to the Hebrews, Melchizedek is expanded upon as a type of Christ, whose priesthood lasts forever and is not tied to a family tree on earth. This connection is very important to understand how Christ's authority goes beyond the Levitical, providing a perfect and permanent way for people to talk to God. In this way, Melchizedek not only connects to Abram's story, but he also represents the endless Christ, whose roles as priest and king are limitless. That God works through people and events that go beyond our normal ideas of time and place is made clear in the story of Melchizedek. His appearance in biblical history is not a coincidence. It is a planned part of God's plan to gently weave the truth of Christ's eternal priesthood into the roots of the Old Covenant. Thinking about the stories of Enoch and Melchizedek makes us want to see beyond what we can see and think about the amazing. They tell us that faith means seeing beyond what we can see with our own eyes and recognizing a deeper spiritual truth. These figures and their roles in the Bible story not only help us understand theology better, but they also strengthen our faith in the work of Christ to save us and in God's power, whose plans are endless and whose presence is felt throughout history and beyond. Because of this, thinking about the lives of these amazing men makes us want to get closer to God. We know that our path of faith is connected to the eternal and the divine, and that every time we recognize and worship, we are a part of a story that is as old as time and as new as each dawn. We hope that this look at mysterious people in the Bible has helped you understand more and strengthened your faith. If you want to learn more about the mysteries and strong lessons in the Bible, Please share this video with your family and friends and subscribe to our channel. Then, leave a comment on how this story has touched your heart and what you think about it. Our faith and how it fits into God's story are things we learn about together. Thank you for following us to the end of this amazing story. May God be with you always. Amen.